representative of all those wholesome qualities: helpful, sincere, compassionate, willing to be vulnerable, grateful, respectful, charismatic, and funny as hell. That was a lot of adjectives. Please welcome on stage this year's valedictorian, Alfred Zhou.
Thank you, Ms. Kelly. To recognize and celebrate our achievements as we get ready to disperse onto different paths. I hope that my speech today can ignite just a bit of spark as we get prepared for what lies ahead. I would like to begin by reflecting on what makes our graduating class of 2022 so special. The word that immediately springs to mind is adaptability. We are the first graduating class to have returned in person during the pandemic. While in virtual learning, I lived by myself this whole time, without even mosquitoes for company, not knowing when it would end. Only being able to see people through a screen 6 hours a day was really challenging. In fact, it felt catastrophic to me. There was no real social interaction. And I love playing basketball, but all sports were suspended for a year, and they even took out hoop-ins in parks. While living this new life remotely, we were forced to adapt to an alternate reality. As you know, in China, you must use VPN to access Google. So in classes, we couldn't even share a Google Doc. Some folks even fell asleep during discussions because it was 3 a.m. in Beijing when it was 3 p.m. for us. And some students were even too shy to weigh in just because they had barely talked to people since the beginning of the lockdown. People were very self-conscious about turning their cameras on, and that is a fact. Luckily, we were up for the challenges. Can't use Google? Well then, we have WeChat Group Share. Not wanting to stay up till 4 a.m.? Well then, we created workflow deadlines to accommodate time differences. Too shy to talk and turn on your cameras? We learned to use encouragement and understanding instead of frustration and impatience. We have adapted. So now, let's get back to returning to in-class learning. Man, was I excited to go back after 18 months of complete social isolation. But then there came a new challenge. How do we move along as a whole class where half of the people are still in other nations learning remotely? Well, in Ms. Sal's class, for example, when it came to group projects, she ensured that groups were hybrid, meaning that there were both online and in-person students in every single group. That way, those of us who enjoy in-person privilege of commuting face-to-face with classmates could actually take some time to interact with the rest. Another great example was the talent show last week. We effectively achieved the balance between online and in person. Mr. George's idea of displaying online students' talents gave everyone a chance to participate in school life. So all this time, whether you have realized or not, we have been adapting. Life requires adaptation and flexibility from us, and man, did we get a lesson in both. And that is just a little bit of taste of life. My favorite comedian, Dave Chappelle, calls the time that we're living in the age of spin. This is the time period where we are constantly surrounded by an overwhelming amount of information, and it disturbs our peace of mind. YouTube tells you that if you become a famous YouTuber, you can easily make millions of dollars every month. TikTok tells you that NFT can make you rich overnight. And Instagram promotes celebrities with fancy sports cards that we should apparently aspire to. This barrage of information is confusing. Who knows what to believe in anymore? Do we even know what we want to become? Are we even aware of who we are being? We need to periodically pause and reflect on how our character is being influenced by these forces around us, because these forces will always exist. Thank you. Amidst all the striving and acquiring, are we bringing our most ethical, compassionate, understanding, and kind selves to our interactions and endeavors? Who do we want to be? I spend 6 hours every week at a garden in North York. That's where a bunch of people are gathered together to grow vegetables and give them to less fortunate people every single summer. This job is physically exhausting especially if you're a big guy like me who's expected to lift weights all the time. Guess how much we get paid? Absolutely nothing. But I know that this food that we're growing makes someone's life easier. And that brings me happiness. And that is the kind of happiness that is much more satisfying than when I earned money for the first time. I'm not saying that money is not important, but I think it is imperative that we ask ourselves, how am I contributing to make this world a better place? And if you can contribute to making the world a better place, says psychologist Jordan Peterson, then at least don't make it worse. We have to keep in mind, values matter. And another thing that I like to talk about is courage. It is, to me, the most profound quality of life. I grew up with a single mother and my grandparents. I would rarely see my father. And because I was lacking that father figure, I was a scared little boy. My father just wasn't there to teach me to have guts. I was scared to fist fight the kids on the neighborhood. I was scared to fight back verbally, so I kept a lot of things to myself. At that time, I thought courage meant having the guts to fight back when you're angry. And then years later, when I came to Canada, I attended a school in Vaughan with only Canadian kids. I would try to dress like them, act and talk a certain way, try to adopt thinking patterns from them, just so I could feel more accepted. But it didn't work out. I never felt a sense of belonging. Then fast forward, I came to Bond a year later, and my perspectives started to alter. When I saw people from different backgrounds not trying to change who they were to conform to the expectations of others, that's when I recognized what true courage looks like. When students present unpopular opinions in front of classmates, that's courage. When Tizaya, I don't know if you still remember Tizaya, when he presented that artwork to Mr. Vonk, even though others were making fun of him, that was courage. When Liam stepped into the spotlight and posed proudly, that was courage. It took years for a boy like me to figure out what courage is. And I think I have a partial answer now. Courage is not about being fearless. You will always have fears. It is about being afraid and still doing it anyway. Is when you stand authentically in who you are and stay true to who you are. Courage is a work in progress, and that is why we have to constantly ask ourselves, am I being my most authentic and courageous self? That is a lifelong question. Thank you. And before I go, I want to give special shout outs to the special people in my life. First of all, thank you to my families and friends. It is a blessing to have you all on my side. I cannot be more grateful. Thank you. Thank you to all my teachers and Ms. Kelly who helped me with this speech. Thank you to the staff and administrators who supported us along the way. And to my grandfather, a special thank you to you for raising me and teaching me all the moral values that I would use along my life. Thank you. And to my grandmother, thank you for taking care of me when I was a little boy and being patient, because I know I was a handful. Thank you. Thank you. And the most important person is my mother. Mom. You have no idea what it puts women through. I know you're watching me from home now, and man.
You got this.
Words cannot express my gratitude towards you, and I know it is not easy for women trying to raise men, but you have done an amazing job, and I'll always try to do my best to make you proud. I love you. Thank you, ladies and gentlemen. Let us make today memorable as we celebrate, and let us always keep hoping for the absolute best for ourselves and for others. Thank you very much, ladies and gentlemen.